Well, it's a moment where we like to apologize. We started off behind schedule, some glitch in our connection there. But again, we'll have to reschedule another beautiful time where we will bring our guest, Stella Odua, who's the senator representing Anambra North. Now, to kick in straight, representative democracy has become a topic of importance as political parties in Nigeria gear up to choose their preferred candidate for the presidential seat, especially in the face of party choices and the determinants of political decisions. Today on the show, we have our party stalwart and experienced politician to take us through representative democracy and how much value is placed on it by these parties. Welcome, I'm Sulaiman Aledeh. Again, for those joining us, we hope to bring our first guest, reschedule that, talking about the senator representing Anambra North. Now, the ruling party in Nigeria, that's the All Progressives Congress, has more than 15 presidential aspirants, with many more at the state level expected to vie for various offices. Now, the APC National Convention also bettered decisions that were rejected by some party members. The choice of zoning the party's candidates is also a significant discourse. With some people saying the party is controlled by some selected people, there's the mouthpiece of the party here today to react to some of these allegations as they may affect representative democracy and politics. So joining me now is the APC National Publicity Secretary, Felix Morka. Felix, good to see you and thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, first, we have to say congratulations. This is your first time since after you were elected the spokesperson of Nigeria's ruling party. Congratulations. But again, how do you feel about being the spokesperson of Nigeria's party as it moves towards the big election?
Well, I think it's a thing of extreme privilege to be in a position to speak for the ruling party and to represent the face of the party and to be able to engage, all kinds of stakeholders, members of our party, those in government, those on the other side, and of course, our general population. I think it's, I consider it, a real privilege.
Well, your party has chosen dates for the primary elections and congresses. What should Nigerians look forward to from that moment?
Well, I think Nigerians should look forward to our primaries that is put together to give every participant, every aspirant in the process, a fair opportunity to appeal to our members, to those who make the decisions, the party's electorates, to choose them as our flag bearers in all of the positions that they aspire to contest for. Just like we did at the convention, we expect our primaries to go on as planned, as scheduled, to be conducted with a lot of decorum, a lot of commitment to promoting the unity of the party, so that after the event, we will have selected individuals who mean well for the party, but also for the country, and who come to this whole engagement with some thought about why they even choose to present themselves to run for some of these offices. And hopefully, should they become candidates, who will come to the campaign, represent the party as effectively as possible, but also as meaningfully as possible for the purpose of giving Nigerians the kind of representation that they truly deserve.
I'm glad that we're all starting to use that phrase representation, because it's very key and deep. That's the whole essence of democracy. Now that brings us to the issue of zoning of the ticket, which also has become a generally discussed one, across platforms. What's your stance on this, and how can parties deal with the issues of zoning, especially when it may be in opposition to clear competence?
Well, look, we are, in a country that is, extremely diverse, diverse in every sense of the word. I mean, we're familiar with that. So the yearning for people to, I think, feel, that sense of ownership of the country to be represented, be effectively represented in government is one that I think, people have claimed and, maybe rightly so. Because in a multi-ethnic, multi-religious, society, very pluralistic, it is important that every section of the country feels like they have that opportunity to have their own interests put, on the table. Now, having said that, I think that, my party, the APC, we have yet to make that decision about zoning, any or all of the positions that is, at stake during this season. Now, will it be done? Perhaps, that decision will be made in the coming days or weeks. But as of today, we have yet to make that decision. Now, on the second leg of your question about the tension, perhaps, that may sometimes exist between this idea of zoning with, issues of, competency. Look, I think that you can zone these positions and still insist that, competent people within those zones come forward to be selected or elected into these positions. I don't think that they are necessarily, opposed to each other. I think that you can have competence even within the scheme of zoning, because I mean, in every part of this country, in every ethnic group, region or zone of this country, you have people who are thoroughly competent to play any of these roles. So I don't think that's really quite a concern that is at that level. I think that wherever, say for instance, the individual who is elected to be to run for president, may come from, in any of those regions, you may find or can find people who truly are competent to lead this country in that capacity.
Let's see if we can actually jump into your national convention that just held. Prior to that, there were quite a number of issues battling the APC, especially as some people felt left out. And with the factions in the states, what's your party doing to solve these before the election?
Well, yes. I mean, there's no question that our party has its own fair share of internal issues that need to be dealt with. And we are dealing with that. I mean, I don't think the news is that we have issues. I mean, every political party, every association of people, whether it's a church or a family or a school, people have, issues. But I think the real news is how you deal with it. Mm-hmm. And I think that, our national convention was forecasted to with all kinds of, prognosis that were not good. People expected, some levels of implosion coming out of that convention. But as we all witnessed, that didn't happen, because the leaders of the party, the Mr. President, who is leader of the party, and other leaders of the party, have, I think, this shared commitment to ensure and to do everything possible to keep our members, really looking at the common good of the party. Looking beyond self, beyond their own, personal pursuits or aspirations to that which I think promotes our collective, best interest. So that is what we also expect will happen during our primaries. Now, don't forget that our current national chairman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, was himself the chairman of the reconciliation committee of our party. Before he became national chairman. So he's someone who has an excellent understanding of some of these issues, some of the flashpoints, some of the tensions in the party. And since assuming office, I himself leading the National Working Committee, of which I'm a member, I know for sure that on that committee, these issues have been put front and center on the agenda of this National Working Committee. And be rest assured that we're dealing with it as we should.
We've had party chieftains come on the program here on, on the issue of zoning, and some of them have actually, categorically said that your party should look towards Nigeria's southern region. Is that on the card at the moment?
Look, everything is on the card. I mean, like I said, we have not made any decision. So, anything is possible. I mean, every section of this country, is on the table until a decision is made. And that decision will be made responsibly and will be made maturely, I think, and will be attentive to all of the issues and, considerations and special considerations that are at play. So I don't think it's a decision anybody's going to make lightly, which is why I think the party is taking its time consulting its leadership and its membership, so that if and when that decision is made, we will hopefully make the right decision that would be, I think, to the liking of at least the majority of our people, our members.
Looking at your party's strength and number, your party is growing, and so far, according to your party, the membership has, gotten to about 41 million members. And just recently, a very young Nigerian who is also a presidential aspirant spoke to journalists when he declared gave his intention to run. He said, well, he's unfazed by the 100 million naira, fee for the expression of interest for aspirants. So how is your party dealing with that? Because the outcry on that particular, form is something that is still generating comments across the continent.
Oh, not even just the country, the continent, huh? Yes. Look, I don't know how old the young man is you referred to.
He's 40-year-old. He's in his 40s.
Well, if he's 40 and under, for example, the party did make very special consideration for our youth. Now we understand we have some critical constituencies that we give enormous attention to. That's the women, our youth, and persons living with disabilities. Now, as you probably know, for women, we only require them to purchase the expression of interest form, and they get the nomination form for free. Now, for our youth who are 25 years and 40, between 25 and 40, they get to pay 50% of the nomination fee while they get the expression of interest, while they have to pay for the expression of interest form. And for people living with disabilities, just like women, they get to pay for the expression of interest form while they get the nomination form for free. So if this gentleman is anywhere between 25 and 40, he will only be required to buy the expression of interest form and then to pay 50% of the nomination fee for the form. Now, look, it is true we have set our fees at 100 million naira. There are lots of justification for that, which I may not go into right now unless you insist that I do. But so far, I think those who had expressed interest to run for the office of president on the platform of our party, I don't know that there's anyone who has so far reneged on consideration of the amount that the party is asking for its nomination form. But I think that there are lots and lots of strong arguments and positions why this decision was taken. It wasn't taken again lightly. We are aware of the amount of money that is involved, and it's a lot of money within the context of everyday Nigerian. Yes, but as the national chairman of our party has said, he said, look, and for me even, I think that we have this so many millions of members of our party. That's a huge base right there, out of which those who aspire may go to seek some support. This happens everywhere in the world, as you know. I mean, people reach out. There are PACs and super PACs that raise money, party members who donate money to support visions and ideas that they believe in. So I think that we need to truly, Aledeh, begin to evolve a culture where those who seek to run for the highest office in the land shouldn't just be, even if they're billionaires, it doesn't matter. They shouldn't, be looking to finance, all of their elections out of pocket. They should, reach out, because that's the kind of, I think, interaction, if you will, the kind of, movements that have to validate or invalidate, aspirations even before they hit the newsstand. If people are unwilling to donate ₦1 to support your cause and your vision and your aspiration, maybe you should have a second thought at some point. But I think that it's a test of the viability and acceptability of these aspirants, for the office that they seek.
Felix Morka, listening to you now, I already see you putting on the cap of the civil society, where you're from originally, talking about people going back to those who they intend to serve and see how they can also, contribute to that movement. But again, for the benefit of those who have missed out on what your party has said on why that amount, perhaps if you don't mind, if you can take us through some of those. I know top of the list is talking about some litigations that may come after any election. But what else do we need to know about that amount?
Look, first of all, the first point to make really is that political parties have bills to pay, enormous bills to pay. Now, financing the process of our primaries and our elections costs, a huge amount of money. Now, keep in mind that political parties in Nigeria do not have any statutory sources of funding. I mean, they have no money that is dedicated from anywhere. Now, we all speak the language of, financial autonomy for our judiciary, for our local governments, and for other entities. But we never have this conversation about how political parties actually manage. How do they manage to support the work that they do? Because ultimately, these are the parties that actually, sponsor those who, get into both the legislative and the executive branch, and who make very important decisions. We don't quite, sometimes we forget and just take it for granted that they'll find money. So yes, this amount, like other parties, was intended to also help the party mobilize, funds to, prosecute both the primaries and the general elections that is upcoming. Now, secondly, it used to be that in the past, the opposition party would just casually plant people who are not members of our party, who don't mean well for our party, purchase funds for them at all levels, and actually come in to create, a lot of crisis and promote confusion. And in the end, end up in court that, bogs us down and makes it difficult for us to actually, manage our processes as we should. But we're thinking, look, for the office of president, if they truly intend to cause trouble, yes, let them go ahead and, pay 100 million for whoever they want to sponsor. And at least, we'll have the money in our kitty to be able to push back and do other things we need to do to, deal with those occasions when they arise. But, again, as I said earlier about evolving this culture, I think that it is important for our people to, I can't stop to emphasize that, how important that is for them to begin to see, the electorate, the party electorate, 40-something million people, as a huge base. Now, I'm a big advocate for the party to evolve a system where over time, they can begin to actually, get members to make contributions, to become financial members of the party. That is something we have in our constitution, but has never been operationalized, by previous, leadership of the party. But I think that going forward, especially given the discussion we're having today about the amount of money that is being asked of our aspirants to pay, that it's important now for the party to really sit down to figure out exactly how we, take advantage of our huge membership to get them to contribute the smallest amount of money. We go a long way to giving the party a funding base that will make, hopefully in future elections, make it unnecessary for the price tag of our forms to be anywhere near what it is today, hopefully, if we're able to actually do that. But having said that, I think overall, we must understand that the logistics alone of moving material and men and women to places where they're needed, all of the committees for primaries, for screening, and the hotel bills, sometimes allowances, those things add up very quickly to amounts of money. And finally, I must also say that out of this money that the party is bringing in through these funds, when these aspirants become candidates after the primaries, the party has, monies that are, paid back to the candidates to support their work, their campaigns, and their election efforts. For example, the issue of security for the elections are borne by the party. It's not borne by the individual candidates. It is the security, the party that actually provides security for all of its candidates around this country. That costs a lot of money. It is also the party that pays all of the agents of the party who are, assigned to police all of the polling units around this country. It is the party that actually pays those, agents. So these things cost money. Now, keep in mind, before now, most of these parties depend on the goodwill of their elected officials, the governors and, people in office and all of that. People talk about, the problem of asking aspirants to pay a lot of money. Is it better for our democracy for political parties to be, entirely beholden, going cap in hand to, people in the executive branch to also raise funds to finance the activities? That also has its own problem and its own conundrum. So I think that either way, ultimately, parties must begin to free themselves and create their own financial base that will give them the kind of autonomy they need to actually be the party they're supposed to be, so that our people can begin to trust more in the capacity of our parties to field representatives who will ultimately perform their best interest when they get elected.
Let me jump in here. Now that you're talking about, you just mentioned executive arm, some of the key concerns of some Nigerians leading up to this conversation is asking how soon your party will likely show Nigerians the example, by asking some of its appointed officers who are vying, who are aspiring for positions in the 2023 election to resign and pursue their aspirations. Well, we seem to have lost that connection. We'll take a moment. We'll come back. We're having our conversation with the...
Hello.
Okay, good that you're there. I'm happy you're back. Felix Morka, I can hear you. Quickly here, apologies for that glitch. I think the connection is getting, a little bit, off and on, tonight. But quickly here, I'm looking at some of the concerns by Nigerians, and it has to do with appointed officers, in your party. Some are asking, at what point will they see some of these people resign from office and pursue their aspirations?
Yes, that's a fair question, actually. But let's remind ourselves that the Electoral Act does not stipulate any timelines by which appointed officials must resign from their positions prior to primaries or even congresses. It merely says that they should resign before primaries or congresses. So I think that the leeway that's afforded by the Electoral Act is still running. And also to remind us too that, this is a provision that is currently in litigation. As you may know, the High Court did strike down that provision. And appeals were filed, and I think the appeals are currently working its way through the appellate court system. So we need to take those into account as we have this conversation. But the essential point that I make is that the Electoral Act did not stipulate any specific timelines by which these individuals who are in public office must resign. Yes.
Now that you're here, it's still about your party, and I'm quite sure some may have asked you the same question, maybe not on television, and it has to do with Nigeria's former president, Goodluck Jonathan, who is also a friend of President Buhari, as some have put it. Is he a member of the APC, or is the APC trying to bring him on?
I am not aware that former President Jonathan is a member of my party. I don't have that information. And I do not know whether or not the party is, thinking of bringing him in. I don't have any information at all. So I cannot confirm or deny that. I mean, I just have no information, unfortunately. Yes.
So now let's talk about preparations for 2023 away from presidential, aspirants. There are other officers talking about representative democracy here, digging deep. We're looking at the legislature. We're also looking at the states. So how prepared is your party, looking at some of the key states that your party earlier won in some parts of the country that they have ultimately also lost? We're seeing some movement. Are we likely to see more of such movements before we get to the party? Or is the party working to ensure that some people stay and stick with the party until after the election and even beyond?
Yes. Well, the party is, working hard to keep its, membership across the board, both those who occupy offices and those who are in our regular membership. It's not interesting to lose any party member. We're not pleased when people leave our party to go elsewhere. So yes, we're working hard to ensure that whatever the issues that may drive people to leave are dealt with and resolved. But of course, again, I say that against the backdrop of the fact that individuals have their fundamental rights to associate freely and to join parties and exit parties. I mean, no one will be stopped, against their will from leaving if they truly choose to leave. But, what I can say is that our leadership is very keen to engage with, our members and to encourage them to stay and resolve whatever issues they may have internally, to take advantage of all of the ample dispute resolution mechanisms that exist under our constitution and in the party to deal with these issues. Because, quite frankly, wherever you may choose to go, I mean, it's not crisis-free. It's not tension-free. It's not, stress-free. So a party is a party. Anywhere you find 2 or 3 human beings gathered, you're bound to have frictions. But what matters is really the candor and the, level of seriousness with which people engage to deal with those issues and to try to resolve them before they escalate to that point where people make decisions to leave. And that's exactly what we are trying, especially this new leadership of the party, trying to do so that we can hopefully minimize the occasion of people exiting the party at all.
Let me bring in the leadership now, talking about the leader of your party, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari. He's always been mentioned, by many of these aspirants. They go in, they come out, and they say, "I just informed the president, of my intentions, of my aspirations." Quickly, help us here. Now, the body language of the president is very important to some key watchers and readers of politics, but somehow they've not been able to put a finger on where the president is, looking at. Let us in on what exactly is happening in your party. So many aspirants, and many of these, gentlemen have always, have all mentioned the president.
Yes, our party leader, Mr. President, is the leader of, all members of the party. And every aspirant or individuals who need to, approach him, are free. And that's why you see some of them go to, inform him as leader of the party of their interests, their aspirations to run. That's normal. I think unexpected, quite frankly. I mean, if you have a family head, there's nothing wrong with approaching him or her to, in this case, approaching him as president to inform him that, they intend to run for some of these high offices. That is fine. And the president has made clear that he supports, a fair process that will vet the candidates of the party. During the NEC meeting we had, a couple of weeks ago, he was very clear that, the party should afford every aspirant, a level playing field so that the most competent amongst us will, eventually emerge to fly a flag and hopefully then win the appeal of Nigerians to, to get their votes and support. during the general election. So he is someone who is, so if you watch him for body language, I'm not sure that is coming anytime soon because, like I said, Mr. President cares about the party and wants us to succeed. And, and to do that, he knows and understands clearly that, we must have that level of, even-handedness to give everyone a fair shot at whatever office that is seek. So, which is why you're probably correct in saying that his body language is hard to read, because I don't think he's trying to give off any body language, quite frankly.
And a very young population of your party. We saw your party elect a young Nigerian as its youth leader. Time was when older people, took on, such office. So, what will that mean for the young Nigerian watching?
Aledeh, it's that's a very important question. I think yes, we did elect a very vibrant, energetic young man as our youth leader, just as we elected also a young, dynamic women leader. Now we're trying to make the point that we're a progressive party and that this is a party of the future. It's a party where we recognize the enormous importance of the role that our youth must play in our democracy if we are to deepen this democracy, if we are to consolidate this democracy. Because, otherwise, what's the point? It's not, about necessarily the older generation. I mean, of course, they're citizens and they have a role to play, but we must also afford our younger people, that opportunity to own our democracy, to feel like, the future is now, begins now, give them the opportunity to run. And to compete, as effectively as possible. So yes, we're very pleased and proud of the young man we elected as youth leader, just as we're pleased and proud of the energetic young woman that we also elected as our women leader.
And before we go, some Nigerians have said that the crux of the matter that will, dominate the discourse, so to speak, will be security. For your party, once they get on the podium on the day or on the night of any debate, how do you think your party will manage the question of security?
Yes. Look, if you go beyond the smoke screen that is engineered by those who just want to promote that's I think narrative of insecurity and all of that. If you go beyond that, you will recognize that while we are faced with enormous challenges in that sector, this government has done an incredible amount of work really trying to grapple with this, whether it's the aspect of terror or the issue of banditry and other vices that we're faced with. Now, it is saddening that people, individuals and groups will constitute themselves into this sort of killing machine, go around attacking innocent people, taking their lives, destroying their property. It is just sad and tragic. But a time was when the capacity of our armed forces, our security forces to deal with these challenges was heavily compromised by the kind of inaction, the kind of lack of adequate funding, and the kind of total dereliction of duty that we experienced in the past under the previous government. Now, nobody speaks too much about whether or not our military is getting funded. I mean, I don't think that's on the front page anywhere, because they are getting funded to the extent within the limits of available resources. Now, what we're dealing with right now is this, whole asymmetric.
Well, I think, we lost that connection again, and I really do hope Felix Morka can come on so that we can just say a proper bye-bye to him for being such nice company. For those just joining us, we've been having our conversation with Felix Morka, who is the All Progressives Congress spokesperson. That's the ruling party in Nigeria. We've been talking about understanding his political party's, preparations towards the big moment. That's the 2023 election. And again, keep in mind, quickly here before we leave, once again, apologies for inability to get that seamless connection to Stella Odua, who's the senator representing Anambra North. We do hope to have her back on the square here. For you watching, many thanks. I'm Sulaiman. See you again.